Brandon Staley, his head coach's tenure with the Los Angeles Chargers. And at some point, is Herbert, coordinator, offense, head coach, going to figure it out? Because, I mean, the clock keeps ticking on this guy. And I love Justin Herbert as if he is, part of my own family. As you all well know, I am an avid representative of the 541. It is on my Twitter handle. Twitter handle sounds better than X handle. There are some things that I realize sound better. We say, like, I think a post on X kind of sounds cool. Or I saw it on X, but it's still a Twitter handle. But my Twitter handle, @JustinMyers541, if you want to hang out. I'm a terrible Twitter follow, but you know what? If you want to follow me anyways, go right ahead. But I am a proud son of the 541. And I celebrate all the accomplishments of my 541 brethren. But at some point, we got to take a look at Justin Herbert's career and be like, has it popped the way we thought it was going to? Because it was not that long ago, the debate of Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert seemed to be settled, right? It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Tua's coach gets fired. Tua can't stay healthy. Boy.
There was a lot of drama with that firing, too.
Boy, did the Dolphins absolutely miss the boat there, because it was the worst kept secret in the NFL that Brian Flores, who was the head coach of the Miami Dolphins at the time, he wanted Justin Herbert. Ownership wanted Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa gets drafted because obviously it's my team. You will draft who I say you draft. I don't even know if it was just ownership, but it felt like the front office wanted Tagovailoa. And the entire time Tua was there in Miami, Brian Flores kept trying to find other quarterbacks. It was like, should we go get Deshaun Watson? Are we going to trade Tua? And the entire time, crushing Tua's confidence. So it felt like, a couple years into both their careers, boy, the Dolphins really missed one there. Well, I don't know if you saw the way Tua's been playing once he got Tyreek Hill, and once he got a head coach that was kind of a crazy offensive genius in the football standpoint. A little quirky, but can be when you score as many touchdowns as the Dolphins do. And then it looks like Justin Herbert might be on coach number 3 coming into next year. After Anthony Lynn gets fired, and then they bring in Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley is one of these new wave coaches, right? They're not afraid to go for it on fourth down. We look at the math. We don't put emotion into it. This is statistics. This is math. This is analytics, right? We're not coaching from fear. There is no emotion involved in this. This is pure numbers, right? Goodwill Hunting style. Just I'm solving the algorithm of the MIT chalkboard. Turns out there may be some emotion a little bit here and there because momentum, drive, irritation. I can only imagine what it must be like to be a defensive player for the Los Angeles Chargers. Like, oh, my goodness, he's going for it again, and he's going to put us in the worst possible situation. And they're sitting at 5-7. Herbert's done for the year. After the disastrous ending to the playoffs last year and the disastrous ending to the regular season the year before, that's 3 years in. That's about all you get in the NFL, because NFL, a lot of people think it means National Football League. No, it means not for long. You're not for long in this league. The NFL is not for everybody. Yes, Brendan.
I think he's an elite defensive coach. I think that if he were to be fired, he'd be, hired as a defensive coordinator immediately. But Justin, you go back and look, and it's, he's not the first head coach to get a job without any experience. But you look at the issues that he's had, and I think it relates back to his lack of experience overall. Like 1 year as an NFL coordinator, got a job off 1 year of a Rams 2020 COVID defense. Again, not going to, just kind of looking at it, 1 year of a coordinator. Outside of that, had never been more than a position coach in the NFL and then a defensive coordinator at Division II. So I wonder if he maybe needed a little bit more seasoning as a defensive coordinator before he. Did you think about like the mistakes that he made? And you were referencing some of them this morning, just like a lot of like what you see like first-time college head coaches make mistakes.
Well, okay. Here's what I think. I think there is something to be said for experience, but Brendan, how many times have we seen these retread coaches? Like Ron Rivera's about to get fired in D.C. And,
not Riverboat.
And how many times he's been, it seems like a good guy and all, but how many times Frank Reich, we've seen these guys with lots of experience, and it's like, yeah, it's just, for whatever reason, your message is not resonating with the players that are on the team, right? It's just not happening. And then you see certain guys like Dan Campbell, like the message is resonating. And he didn't have an awful lot of coordinator experience. I think he was like a tight ends coach, or is it?
Yeah, what happened to the Ron Rivera, Justin, that won 15 games in the regular season with Cam Newton?
Well, he had like every other coach, like we talked about with Bill Belichick. He had Tom Brady, right? You look at all these coaches peak Cam Newton before the car crash, like that's something I think we like.
Was that? You think that was it?
I don't
Interesting.
know.
I know we're getting off, but
I don't follow Cam. We're going to talk about Cam Newton, by the way, coming up in the next segment, because Cam Newton had some things to say about some quarterbacks in the NFL that I completely disagree with. But like peak Cam Newton, 2015, Cam Newton was a problem. That was
MVP Cam Newton, right?
Yeah, Super Bowl Cam Newton, and then he ran into Von Miller in the Super Bowl, and that'll take you down a peg. And so it was that, and then he got into the car crash, and he was never quite the same after that Super Bowl loss, the car crash, and I think coaching change and everything else, and just was never quite the same.
You're right, career numbers that year and steady decline since.
So Ron Rivera, when he has peak Cam Newton, right, who just had the stars align and just all of a sudden now it's working. Yeah, he was a really good coach, but it retread him. And then who are the quarterbacks at in D.C. right now? Because clearly the Carson Wentz thing didn't work. So they Carson Wentz last year, try again. Heineke, who was good, but he's not
average.
starting caliber quarterback. I mean, he's in Atlanta. So
yeah, Sam Howell's been better than Taylor Heineke. I mean,
but like none of those guys are making the Pro Bowl anytime soon.
Yeah, they'd be well off. And again, that's the Magic Johnson, Josh Harris led team. So I think they're going to go out and make a real sexy hire. But Justin, my bad, sorry. It's very interesting, very much like a Chip Kelly Oregon situation. The Commanders football team, whatever they're going to call themselves next year, they might have their best coaching candidate sitting at offensive coordinator right under their nose.
Yeah, Bieniemy's going to probably get that job.
I hope so.
Maybe, who knows?
He deserves a job. I want him to, he's the only reason Ron Rivera's probably not like Frank Reich and winless this year. Anyway.
Let me get back to Brandon Staley real quick. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago because watching Mike McDaniel in Miami and watching Dan Campbell in Detroit, and two guys that are complete opposites of one another, right? Could not approach the NFL coaching position from a different perspective, and yet they're both having success. And I like that because, speaking of Brandon Staley, there was, and I said this a couple weeks ago, there was a handful of hires where I think every owner was trying to find the next Kyle Shanahan. They were just trying to find the next Kyle Shanahan. Because you look at LaFleur, Staley, Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, right? Like these are all Minnesota.
It's the McVay /
Minnesota.
Kevin O'Connell. It's
Kevin
all
O'Connell.
Like the Mike Shanahan tree. That's where it really comes from.
And Kyle Shanahan, real good. He's figured some things out. Even Mike McDaniel is in that, but obviously he's not in the same mold. All those guys, I know like LaFleur's got a beard but like you could put Brandon Staley, Kevin O'Connell, Zach Taylor, uh, Matt LaFleur. You could put them all in a room. It's like, I can't pick out which from which. Because they did it for years trying to find the next Bill Belichick, right? It's like, we got to find the next Bill Belichick. And it was like Joe Judge and Matt Patricia and like not even the coaching tree, but like they wanted to find the next like menacing. We're on to
Josh McDaniels.
We're on to Cincinnati. Just like you saw a slew of those guys. Now
Romeo Crennel.
give me some variety. You cannot create great head coaches in a lab, and it felt like for a long time NFL was just high. Like, all right, let's look at Brandon Staley. Yeah, super smart, kind of analytic driven, young. Like, yeah, let's give him a shot. And it's like, let's try some different stuff here because obviously not all leadership. Like that's what NFL coaching is. It's leadership. It's management.
Add in a couple more, Justin. Anthony Lynn, before he was let go with the Chargers, Herbert's first year, also part of that tree. And then, interestingly enough, Jed Fish. Could you throw Jed Fish into that mix?
Well, we've talked about this before. Belichick guys are great in college. They're great in college. Then they go off to try to be Bill Belichick in the NFL when you're going with grown men. When you are dealing with grown men making way more money than you, who are in their profession, they're not living their dreams like they are in college before. This is my job, right? I'm playing to make generational wealth. I'm trying to get to year 7 so I can become a vested NFL veteran, so I can get a pension. Like, don't give me your rah-rah stuff. Now, Belichick could pull it off because he had credibility. Coached Lawrence Taylor, for crying out loud, as a defensive coordinator, and he had all those wins. Well, then you get all these Belichick disciples coming out going like, well, we're going to run this like Belichick. And these grown adults were like, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
That's a great point.
Chip Kelly learned this lesson, too. Chip Kelly went to the Philadelphia Eagles, and he tried to run the Eagles like a college program. And all these grown adults were like, yeah, we're not doing that. Full pad practice the day before a game. I don't care what your research says there at University. That's not my schedule. This is my job. That's day before game. We do walkthrough. I meet with my family. Like, we don't do that stuff here. And it never worked.
Asking for a friend, Justin, would you, if you were Justin Myers and handed because Chip got everything, right? He got the keys to the kingdom. GM, coach. Yeah. Would you have traded your all-pro running back for your linebacker you had at Oregon?
Absolutely not.
Who was a decent NFL player, but not an all-pro.
But, yeah, and it's very
like it just started from there.
You can't run an NFL team like a college team. You can't. Just like also you can't run an NFL team like Bill Belichick if you ain't Bill Belichick. And you can't run a team like Kyle Shanahan if you don't have Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. And like you can't do it. You got to be able to adapt. And you look at why is Mike McDaniel having success? Because he's like, I got Tua. Watch this. Tua, you're great. I don't want any other quarterback. I'm going to win with you. I don't wish you were somebody. I'm going to win with you. And I think that's how you find success in this league. Dan Campbell's like, I got Jared Goff, right? Would have been nice to have Matt Stafford. He ain't here no more. I got Jared Goff. Guess what I can do? I'm going to win with this guy. I'm going to find out his skill set, and I'm going to win with this guy.
So is the jury still out then, Justin? Because we just said you can't treat college like the NFL.
Yeah.
Can you, and I think we've seen it, can a college program be ran like an NFL program?
No.
And
Arizona State's the proof in that pudding. And
Colorado's jury's
still out. We'll see. Deion Sanders, he got 5 new offensive linemen. All right. Well, you and I have covered our fair share of college football.
We have.
What does every college football love talking about with his offensive line? Continuity. How many times did you hear about continuity on the offensive line when covering your beloved Beavers? I know I hear about it all the time covering Oregon. Oh, continuity. These guys play together. They've got snaps. It's like now, hey, Colorado. Look at all these new linemen. Hey, it's new. Like, yeah, none of those guys played together.
I'll give you that.
Also, none of those guys are from Power 5.
Also, Justin, though.
You got a guy from UConn.
Coming into this year, I wholeheartedly believed everything you said. Then I watched the Oregon Ducks completely rebuild their offensive line with the transfer portal. and have Bo Nix stay upright all year.
Yeah, but you still have Jackson Powers Johnson there, who's been there a while. There's a handful of other guys that have been there a while.
But that to me was like, whoa.
But it wasn't a complete overhaul like Colorado's.
Sure, that's true.
Like in the NFL, you can complete overhaul because those guys are pros. It's like, this is what I do. Like in college, these guys are still kids. All right. We're going to talk some quarterbacks coming up, though, because Cam Newton had some interesting things to say on his podcast, which I love the old players getting podcasts, throwing out hot takes. I love it. They spent their entire career saying the media is a bunch of hot takes, but we'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. got one, great. If not, you're looking for one. But all season long, the biggest storylines in the NFL, from the offseason to the Jets acquiring Aaron Rodgers and Sean Payton going to the Broncos, and then 4 plays in, that's an Achilles, and Aaron Rodgers is now out. And then you saw Deshaun Watson go out for the season. You now have Joe Burrow out for the season. Justin Herbert's out for the season. Kirk Cousins is out for the season. Like, you just look at all of these. Kyler Murray didn't start the season. You just look at all of these quarterbacks that have been hurt, banged up. Anthony Richardson started off with like a pretty hot start for the Colts. Boom, he got lost for the season. And so the bigger stories of the year, Danny Dimes was out for the season as well. Can keep going, even though I don't know if he was all that great, but still he's making $40 million as a starting quarterback. So all these quarterbacks just lost for the season, left and right. And then you have seen the emergence of guys we talked about last segment with Jared Goff, with Tua Tagovailoa. You can throw Brock Purdy in there. Well, Cam Newton, who I will say 2010 Cam Newton, greatest single season in college football history. Now, I understand 2019 Joe Burrow has got a case to be made. Not going to argue that. But for my money, I can do the old guy, you don't know, you weren't there, because I was there, and I saw that dude in real life. But 2010, maybe one of the best college football seasons of all time. And just a quick bit of transparency, which we do on this program. I was all in on Cam Newton. Maybe it was because I saw him play live, much like I saw Reggie Bush play live, and I'm like, that's the greatest football player I've ever seen. There's just something about seeing a dude live. Deshaun Jackson, Brendan still gets nightmares of Cooper Kupp. Right? Yeah. Like, you see a guy live. Like, were you there? You were at that game, right?
Oh, I sure was.
You were at the game. Was that high school, Brendan?
It was.
High school,
year.
Brendan, probably
decked out.
Beaver geared, left
decked
and right.
Out. Eye black, everything, man. Decked.
Oh, you rocked like real eye black or stickers?
The stickers,
oh,
but yeah.
Stickers.
No, oh, yeah. No, it was. And I'm like, I remember going to the game. My buddies were like, yeah, Eastern Washington's kind of good, but we're number 25 in the country. It's going to be a great year.
That's right.
Start the year. And as it turns out, and again, just this guy from Yakima. Oh,
yeah.
Maybe
it's the Palm Springs of Washington. I don't know if you knew that about Yakima, but it is the Palm Springs of Washington.
Vernon Adams, it's like, okay. Like, I was like, okay, cool. Like, this dude's a dude. Like, I get it. But, like, really? Like, we had no idea with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
We had
turns out he's going to be
no idea.
Pretty good pro. But regardless, like, you see these guys play in person, and you get, I think, a different sense of it as opposed to watching them on TV. So I was all in on Cam Newton. Well, now Cam Newton's not playing football anymore. He's a podcaster now. And, again, I mentioned it last segment. I find it very funny. All these guys, whether it's Gilbert Arenas, who now has his own podcast, or I think Kevin Garnett has his own podcast, and all these players are like, the entire time during their career was just, you criticize them at all, and they would come at you with a fervor. They would come at you with some fire, like you just a bunch of hot takes, your opinion, and then all of a sudden, you stop playing, people pay you for your opinions. Oh, your opinions get a little spicy. Interesting how that works. Welcome to the club. Anyways, so Cam Newton had something interesting to say. He was talking about quarterbacks right now. I don't know if he was ranking them, but he got into a discussion on his podcast about who some of the best quarterbacks are and had something interesting to say about a couple of quarterbacks that I want to talk about. Here's Cam Newton on his podcast, Talking Quarterbacks. All right, so that's again, talk about an old media trick, a lazy media trick, and that is to throw out the term game manager as if it is some sort of criticism. So here's the quarterbacks that he said are game managers: Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, and Dak Prescott. Those are the four he said are game managers. That they're not winning games; they're just managing the game. And I had a thought. Dolphins 9-4, Cowboys 10-3, Lions 9-4, San Francisco 49ers 10-3. All four of those teams leading their division. Give me a game manager all day, please. Please give me the NFL right now is ripe for game managers. We don't need playmakers. Now, there are great playmakers, and Patrick Mahomes is a tremendous playmaker, and Lamar Jackson is a tremendous playmaker. Lamar Jackson's also 10-3. Don't want to take that away. They're leading their division as well. But for my money, dude, give me a game manager. A guy who's not going to turn the ball over, a guy who's going to get – there are so many playmakers in this league. From Tyreek Hill to, you look at the guys that the Lions have. You got what? Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So good. Laporta, their tight end, is a stud. Obviously, the
Hawkins,
running
right? Hawkins, well, no, that's Minnesota. He used to play for the Lions. I think
they got Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery at running back. The Lions have dudes. They have dudes, too.
And you got, the Dallas Cowboys, like CeeDee Lamb's.
So good.
He's a dude.
Brandon Cooks is a dude.
But, we've talked about the 49ers and obviously Tyreek Hill, Waddle. Who else is there with the Dolphins?
Their running backs, Mostert and A-Chain. Those dudes.
A-Chain. Yeah. Give me a game manager all day. I understand that, this used to be an insult. It used to be an insult because you go all the way back to this whole thing, I believe, started with the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Now, 2000 Baltimore Ravens is a historic defense. Unbelievably historic defense. And they had Trent Dilfer. And Trent Dilfer was the definition of a game manager because their defense was Bears in the 80s, early 2000s, Ravens, late 2000s, early 2010s Steelers, and then that mid-2010s Seattle Seahawks defense. Those are some of your all-time defense. And then you go back to the 70s, right? Obviously, the Steel Curtain, the Purple People Eaters, which is still the coolest nickname of all time, the Fearsome Foursome. There's all sorts of great defenses. But in the modern NFL, right, the Bears of the 80s, you can go to the late 90s, early 2000s Raven. Those teams could win with anybody at quarterback. They kind of did. No offense to Trent Dilfer. He's still I'm on the record. Third-string emergency quarterback is still so good at quarterback, right? There is not a college football team in America that wouldn't take some third-stringer right now in the NFL on their team, and they might pay better. So, point being is, that was the term back 20-some years ago with Trent Dilfer was just a game manager. That's all he does. It got slapped on Tom Brady early on in his career till it turns out, no, he's not. He's not a game manager. This guy keeps beating everybody over and over. It was on Ben Roethlisberger early in his career, his first season. They go 15-1. Oh, yeah, but he's rookie. He's just a game manager. He's not. Yeah. That's the whole point. Every coach in NFL, college football will tell you everything in the football world is about the ball, right? Coaches say it all the time. It's all about the ball. Don't give the ball to the other team. Get the ball back from the other team, as simple as it is, right? In basketball, it's about being tall. As crazy as it sounds, that basket's 10 feet, it ain't going anywhere. That's it. Baseball, if you're a pitcher, throw strikes, right? That football, yeah, give me the ball and don't give them the ball. And if we do that, we're going to have some success. So this idea that these guys who are game managers are it's almost like a knock or not entirely an insult, but a bit of a criticism. I am not buying. Give me a game manager. Give me a guy that can get my best players in space, the ball, on time, where it's supposed to be, and you don't give the ball to the other team. Give me those guys. I'll take. And listen, I'm a guy with the Pittsburgh Steelers that I think Kenny Pickett could be pretty good, but I don't know yet. If he turns out to be a game manager and George Pickens and, all these, hopefully find some more weapons for him, guys that will actually try hard. But, if you can get me a game manager that can get the ball to Justin Jefferson in space, that can get the ball to Tyreek Hill in space, that can get the ball to, George Kittle and Deebo Samuel in space, it's kind of ideal, isn't it? Yes, Brendan.
Yeah, no, I think everything you said there is spot on. I mean, I think going back to Cam Newton, objectively, he's wrong. I think Cam Newton, in this case, looks at a guy like Brock Purdy, and he says, he doesn't look like me. How can he be better than I was? And he doesn't play like I do. How can he be better than I am? And going back, and, there are, more than one way to build an NFL winner. There's more than one way to go about it. We've seen it, right? You can be defensive. You can be offensive. You can build, through your receivers and, rather than your running backs or quarterbacks, whatever. But, Justin, we mentioned it earlier in the week. The key, and if somebody would let Brendan run an NFL team, we'd be spending money on every other position and looking for the best game manager we can get on a rookie contract for 4 years. So we'd literally be like, who is the best and most mature college player available? I'm talking like a Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Bo Nix is the most mature. Well,
Sam Hartman.
Cam Rising might be the most mature because I think because he's coming back to play.
It's true.
Tyler Shuck might be ultimately that as well.
Yeah, but somebody like if
Tyler Shuck was recruited to Oregon first by Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
So he's still playing college football. Let's just let that sink in real quick.
It's a long time ago. But no, to kind of finish my point, if I were an NFL team, let's say that's struggling this year, that doesn't have a quarterback, let's say the Commanders, right? I think they've got good skill position talent. They can get a little bit more on the defense. But if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm like, yeah, let's take a gamble on Bo Nix. We can spend on the rest of the roster, and all of a sudden we're going to have a guy who's got 60 starts. So it's blown up. They have drafted guys and brought in, by that logic, Matt Leinart should have been a great NFL game manager. So it's not tried and true perfect, Justin.
But the term game manager, it in and of it itself should be a compliment. It's not used as one, but it should be. To manage an NFL game and to not turn the ball over excessively and to get the ball out in time and to give your team a chance, that's a skill. It is. I'm sorry. Brock Purdy has a skill, and it's in his brain, and it's in his wiring, and it's all he does is get the ball. Yeah. The thing that Trey Lance couldn't do. Trey Lance couldn't do it. Now, Trey Lance also kept getting hurt, but the thing that Trey Lance couldn't do, which is see the field, where's my one-on-one matchup? There you go. Kirk Cousins last year is, I think, a great example of this. If you watch that QB documentary on Netflix, Kirk Cousins last year, kind of a game manager. Now, they kind of blew it in the playoffs at home against the Giants, but it's I've got Justin Jefferson on my team. I'm just going to get the ball. I'm going to find him. I'm going to get the ball to him. I don't need to make dynamic plays myself. I've got this guy who makes way more dynamic plays than I'll ever make. Let's maybe get him the ball. Yeah, Tua, Dak, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy. Game manager. Give me the game managers all day long. Because, and this is going to sound like a cheap shot. This is what the kids call, I believe, a ricochet. But, I'll take any of those guys over Baker Mayfield. And I like Baker Mayfield, but he's a dynamic playmaker, right? He spins around. Give me cool, calm, collected, in the pocket. I'm about to get sacked. I'm going to throw the ball away. I don't know what the stats are now, but it used to be, I think, Peyton Manning used to throw this stat out all the time. You take a sack on a drive, 17% of those drives end in points. Think about that. If you take a sack, around 17% of those drives where you take a sack end in points. Now, the math says that 83% of those times, if you take a sack, that ends with not putting anything up on the board, and it's a lost possession. Don't take a sack. No need to make plays. If it's there, get the ball to your playmaker. If not, throw it away. Is it boring? Yeah, boring wins. Boring wins. Go to like profitable businesses. Profitable businesses in the world. You know what's one of the most profitable businesses is? Waste management. Waste management. It's
Okay, Mafia.
not the mafia one, but like I'm not
Sorry, I
even
couldn't help
talking about
myself.
like the garbage and but I'm talking about people that will show up, take your junk and get rid of it. Right?
Like a commercial in a company that says we'll get rid of your junk for you.
Yes. Insanely profitable. Is it
It's lucrative, you say, huh?
is insanely profitable. I have
I did
friends
not
that
know
do
that.
it. There's like there's a reason why Waste Management, the company, is but like taking the garbage away. Do you ever haggle with your garbage bill? No, you just pay it because you don't want a bunch of garbage all piled up. Going to the dump is a pain in the neck, right? Is it sexy? No. Is it as fun as telling people you're a radio host? Not even close. But you know what? The check clears. Is it boring? Yeah, it's boring. But you know what? It's needed. It's necessary. That's what you need a quarterback. If you've got dudes, right? If you've got weapons. And there are so many weapons in the NFL right now. And because of the insane amount of money that we are paying these quarterbacks, well, the Chiefs couldn't hold on to Tyreek Hill. It wasn't because they didn't want him. It's because they knew that Patrick Mahomes was going to get $50 million and Travis Kelce was going to get a big, giant deal. And we can't pay anybody else. We got to keep paying Chris Jones. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be nice to have all the weapons on offense, but we can't win 55-42. So I'm sorry, Tyreek Hill. You got to go to Miami. And Miami was like, thank you very much. Like, you start paying these quarterbacks a ton of money and you're going to lose these weapons. But, yeah, I kind of see what Dak Prescott or what Cam Newton was trying to say, but like he's way off. They're not winning because yeah, they are. This is a big, and I'm gonna end on this. This is like the big misnomer. He's not winning games. He's just not losing them. Hate to break it to you, it's the same. Said it. You all remember this playing Little League, and you hit a little bloop single. And what did one parent always say? Line drive in the book. If it's a base hit, it's a base hit. You go back and you look at statistics. You're on first base, and you are 1 for 1. Doesn't matter if you hit a screaming line drive or you've hit a little bloop Texas leaguer. Doesn't matter. Oh, they're not winning because of these guys. They're just not losing. Wins, losses, all counts the same. All counts the same. Now, maybe in the playoffs, you might say you need somebody dynamic like Patrick Mahomes. Maybe. But Patrick Mahomes is 1-1. There ain't any more of those guys out there. They're just managing the game. Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're managing the game to 10 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins, 9 wins, all in the division. Give me game managers all day long. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, the quarterback carousel continues. Oregon State currently in the market. They're in the market for a quarterback. There is also a quarterback in the Willamette Valley that is on the market. Could there be a potential Civil War swap? Coming up on campus next, 620 Rip City Radio. flipped on signing day to go to UCLA, is now back in the transfer portal. He's visiting Oregon this week and may potentially come back to Eugene, giving the Ducks a plan for next year and then potentially a plan for the future, because Dylan Gabriel is clearly going to be a one-and-done hired assassin to come in and pave the way as Oregon goes into the Big Ten. So they're in a pretty good spot quarterback-wise, but with the quarterback situation, Ty Thompson, who has been at Oregon for 3 years. 3 years. Holy cow. Former 5-star recruit, he enters the transfer portal because obviously it's not going to be his job. That's going to be Dylan Gabriel's job. And this is the thing that none of these coaches will tell you, but you have to kind of, these quarterback transfers, these are business transactions, right? These are business transactions. Part of it is that NIL money, but part of it is I'm not transferring to a school where I'm not going to start. And while in high school recruiting, you can get away with you'll certainly have the opportunity to start. You know, this one, Bo Nix came to Oregon 2 years ago. It was a done deal. You're going to come in and you're going to be our starting quarterback. We're going to pretend like there's a quarterback competition, but you're coming in here and you're going to be our starting quarterback. I believe the same thing happened with DJU in Corvallis, and clearly the same thing happened with Michael Penix. Now, the difference with Michael Penix was he didn't have anybody that was competing with him up in Washington because their QB situation the year before that absolutely stunk. Nevertheless, Ty Thompson is now in the transfer portal. Oregon State's looking for a quarterback. That's only 40 miles up the road. They are no longer, while still Civil War rivals, it's going to be played in September. That's going to be weird. But they're no longer conference rivals as Oregon State hangs on to the pack, which, by the way, how about the Cougs and the Beavs just going like, yeah, $60 million you want? Yeah, we're going to wait and see.
I love it.
I do not blame them, and I actually tip of the cap because I would do the same thing. But all that being said, could Ty Thompson maybe just head right up 99 north and head up to Corvallis? Let's go on campus. Here we go. All right, let's go to our Oregon State football expert, super producer Brendan, right over there. This seems to be buzzing around the Corvallis.
So as
the Beavs need some good news.
They do.
They need some good news. The coaching staff that
they've got a couple transfers that will help this week. They've definitely brought Beaver fans, a little bit of good news. As Justin and I mentioned, Ty Thompson has officially already said he's going to take a visit to NC State, Justin. But yesterday, some news picked up as somebody just tweeted, Oregon State is one of the favorites to land Ty Thompson. Ty Thompson liked that tweet.
Oh, boy. All right.
So,
now, I've done this before where I've accidentally liked a tweet. But
that's true. That's true. That's true.
Maybe likes do not equal endorsement. Remember those days? But actually, now that you can bookmark tweets, they actually do.
Tell me that he likes the state of Oregon.
From what I don't know the kid.
Sure.
I've never met the kid. I've never interviewed the kid. But from what I understand in Eugene is the reason that he stuck around after Bo Nix decided to come back, and even when Bo Nix came in, because it looked like it was going to be his job 2 years ago, but then Cristobal leaves, Dan Lanning comes in, Dillingham and Bo Nix, that's a package deal, and Ty Thompson stuck around, and then he stuck around again, and I don't know if it was him buying his time, but it's just he seemingly liked it at the university and in Eugene, which, crazy as it sounds, still a factor. I mean, it's still kind of a thing, right? Some of us, not necessarily me, but some of you guys out there really liked your college experience. Mine wasn't the best. I partied too much. Got myself into some academic issues. Don't do it, kids. Go to class. Partying on a Wednesday.
Go to class like me.
Partying on a Wednesday. Bad idea. I know it's dollar beers at Lenore's Ghost, but maybe.
So you're saying you couldn't rally, though, Justin, and get up for that 9 a.m. class the next day?
I did not have the same work ethic that I have today as an adult. Back when I was in my 20s, I had a terrible work ethic. I also didn't like school all that much.
No, see, it was
I liked social aspect, shockingly.
Just you tell me all the time, you're like, life's a competition, man. It's all about, I looked at 18,000 people around me and said, I'm going to get a better GPA than a whole bunch of you.
Yeah, I didn't really compete that way. I was a baseball player trying to compete for playing time, And then once that was over, I was trying to compete with the partiers and seeing if I could out-party people. Sometimes I did, but that is a losing battle. Nevertheless, could Ty Thompson head to Oregon State? This is what's going to be interesting because I think there's a lot of transfers kind of like looking around, waiting and seeing, going like, all right, what's the deal with the Beavs? Because it's not like a terrible transfer destination a year ago. DJU proved that coming as a 5-star all the way over. But now the uncertainty of like where I think, unfortunately for the Beavs, Brendan, this is going to be kind of a, all right, let's see what's going on in Corvallis kind of year, right? What's this new schedule going to look like? What is the world of college football going to look like? It still hasn't quite dawned on me like there's no Pac-12 next year. I mean, I know there isn't one. I know that Oregon's playing Ohio State in Autzen and conference game, but it still is weird. It doesn't feel real. And I wonder how many transfers are like, ugh. I mean, Oregon State would be not, but if there's no other options, Washington State and Oregon State, I do think are going to be able to be kind of destinations because they're not group of 5 teams or group of 6, I think. They're not group of 6 teams. They're not Power 4 teams. Right. They're in that weird, murky middle. And I do think late transfer portal, I think they may make some moves.
Yeah,
Both
I mean,
teams.
I think, goodness gracious, Justin, they need a schedule like yesterday. You could even be like,
how's the schedule not out yet?
The powers that be. But nevertheless.
But we know who they're playing, right? They seem to know who they're playing.
We kind of do, so I think that helps. I mean, but yeah, I mean, the bottom line, Justin, is guys are starting to get snatched up quick. I know they got DJU kind of late in the process. Mm-hmm. It was Christmas Eve when he announced last year. But with that, like right now, it is Moneyball. If, Ben Gilbranson's taking snaps under center next year. And could he win you some games? You want to look through your orange prism-colored glasses? You could maybe, but Oregon State can still do better. And I don't mean that as
hand the ball to Damian Martinez.
I don't mean that as a slight to Ben, but they're at a point right now in their program, even still with the uncertain future, Justin, they can get somebody who's serviceable there.
And I think there's going to be a late surge with the transfer portal. I do think that's going to happen. All right, coming up next, we got the big 3. Draymond Green lost his mind last night.
On Nurk?
Yeah, Nurk got knocked out. Justin Herbert's done for the season. All sorts of stuff coming up. Big 3, make or miss. Worldwide Wednesday, jam-packed hour number 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
what you need to know.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 7 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Los Angeles Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert is officially done for the season after a broken index finger on his throwing hand. He will undergo surgery and look to return in 2024. The Washington Wizards and Capitals owner says he is moving the teams to Northern Virginia and out of the D.C. Metroplex. They can exit as soon as 2027. And a pair of ejections in the NBA last night, but they were nowhere close to the same. Draymond Green is tossed for, I don't know what that spinning back fist was he knocked Yusuf Nurkic out with, but he got a flagrant 2 and was ejected. Suspension likely coming for Draymond Green. Meanwhile, Nikola Jokic, it wasn't sticks and stones, but it was words that hurt this official as he was tossed out after language to the refs. Coming up in hour number 3, Tyson Alger, friend of the program from the I-5 corridor, is going to join the big show. But the big 3 in hour number 2 starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, 20 minutes from now, we have got Make or Miss. 40 minutes from now, we've got a Worldwide Wednesday. And as I just mentioned in the update, Tyson Alger is going to join the show. More and more Oregon players declaring for the draft. They got Dylan Gabriel coming in. They're going to be making some more moves to the transfer portal. What a world we live in football. And I understand, look, adapt or die, right? Billy Bean, a.k.a. Brad Pitt, taught us this in Moneyball a handful of years ago. Adapt or die. Andy Dufresne taught us this in Shawshank. Get busy living or get busy dying, right? You can sit there and yell at the clouds and be mad about things, or you can just lean into it and embrace the change. It was Gary Bertier, I believe, taught us that in Remember the Titans. Could I give us more lessons from movies from 20 years ago? I think I could. I got plenty of them up in the old brain. When something new comes along, you just got to run with it. That's what Gary Bertier said. But his racist girlfriend until ultimately when she shook Julius Campbell's hand, then she cured racism right there with T.C. Williams' game. Hi, Julius Campbell. Hi, I'm Gary Bertier's girlfriend. And I used to not like you, but now I do. Boom. We solved it. We fixed it right there. But we learned, like, new things come along, you got to embrace it, right? No sense in fighting against the wind. No sense in arguing with it and getting mad about it. I've already done my fair share of that. College football is anew. It is different. It is never going to be the same, and that's just going to be the way it is. Because we are sitting here and say what you will. Obviously, the ending of the season for Oregon State, massively disappointing, and then it got even worse with Jonathan Smith. I get it. But there's still a Sun Bowl to be played against Notre Dame. Like, Brendan, in your lifetime, like, let's just try to, like, eliminate, and it's hard, the emotion of the time. And I get it. The fear, the uncertainty, the anger. But in your lifetime, to think of what you have experienced as an Oregon State fan as a child, fan as an student, the media member, Oregon State's got a game with Notre Dame. Oregon State is playing Notre Dame. For the third time, by the way, in program history, as nuts as that sounds, they got a game against Notre Dame. Nobody cares about it. Now, I shouldn't say nobody. Very few people care. Like, Oregon State's got a game against Notre Dame.
I think the fact that your producer and one of the people who cover the team choosing not to go to the game probably should tell you all you need to know about the importance of it. So whether it's, I mean, even I was telling my family the other day, like, this is going to be the most low-key Oregon State bowl game I've ever been a part of in my life, ever, in 27 years. And it's a glorified exhibition, especially with, it's not just, I know you're not following Notre Dame closely, Justin, but Notre Dame's had a ton of opt-outs too, beyond just Sam Hartman. Like, they've got an offensive lineman not going to probably play, running back, a couple defensive guys. Like, and I was talking to my brother about this yesterday. I I don't blame anybody. If you're weeks away, and I shouldn't say weeks, months, right? So because the NFL draft is April. So if you're months away, Justin, from being a first-round pick, not even second, third, or fourth, but a first-round pick, why on the Lord's green earth would you play in that bowl game?
No, I've been saying it since Leonard Fournette. Remember, it was Leonard Fournette and Christian McCaffrey.
It was, yeah, I remember
those
CMC.
two guys, and everybody got into an uproar, and everybody said, "Oh my goodness gracious!" Like, I don't know what kind of message does that send to the kids? And it's like, that turns out Christian McCaffrey is just fine, right? Christian McCaffrey. I think it was the Sun Bowl too, if I'm not mistaken. I think Christian McCaffrey skipped out on the then. Is it still Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl? On the
back then, it might have still been Brute. What a great men's
Sun
cologne.
Bowl. There was a
Valero, or no, that was Alamo Bowl.
No, Valero's Alamo Bowl, baby.
I think it was Brute.
It was Brute for a long time.
That great men's cologne. Let's see.
But Christian McCaffrey opted out, and it was like, oh my goodness, what kind of message does this send? Should this be a red flag to teams? It's like, yeah, no.
Okay,
Shouldn't be a red flag to teams at all.
Okay, so this was 2016. Okay, Justin, we have to read this because I wonder if he'd be singing a different tune now. Mike Greenberg, who hosts Get Up, right here.
Yeah.
Every morning we see him. So when McCaffrey announced he would not participate in the Sun Bowl, this is just in the Wikipedia, so it must be pretty.
It's got to be true in the Wikipedia. You can't go in there and edit anything.
Well, I just mean the fact that they singled this dude out says he must have had a comment, but he spoke on the moment and said, calling Christian McCaffrey a quitter for skipping an exhibition game to prepare for his career is the height of just not getting it. So he was in support of it back in 2016, Justin.
Yes. Because he knew what I knew, what everybody who covers college football knows, that we didn't like to admit that if it wasn't a marquee matchup, if it wasn't a traditional bowl game like the Rose Bowl, or if you weren't going to play for a national championship, that these games really didn't matter. They never did.
And it was a Sun Bowl.
I got into this argument with Joey Harrington one time.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I was a guest host of Talkin.
Shout out Joey,
Haven't been asked back. So, probably because of this. No.
Shout out Joey.
But it's like I was sitting there, and it was me, and it was friend of the program, Aaron Fentress, and it was Joey Harrington, and I'm taking slings and arrows, which is funny because Joey Harrington's actually played in some bowl games. But my point was this, not that it doesn't matter to the players playing the game. They're playing hard. They want to win. What I have always said is that winning or losing a bowl game, unless it is the Rose Bowl, unless it is against a marquee opponent on New Year's Day, right? It doesn't matter. Season's over. Check in your gear. Oregon, under first-year coach Mario Cristobal, won the Red Box Bowl. It was the most boring bowl game of all time. Oregon State's against Pitt.
Oh, I would say Oregon.
Or Missouri, right? Was it Missouri?
I was going to say Cristobal's first game. That was pretty bad, too.
Well, he got smoke showed by Boise, but that wasn't – if you're a fan of Boise, you're like, oh, this is a pretty good game.
That's fair.
No
the Red
fan
Box
of
Bowl
Oregon or Michigan State watching that Red Box Bowl had a very good day. It was a bleep show.
It was bad.
Came back.
I forgot about that. That was so bad. And you're right.
And then what happened the next year?
Justin, if the Beavers...
What happened the next year? Oh, Oregon came back and won the conference.
If the Beavers and Notre Dame play 3-0, Justin, I might scream. Let's not do that again, please.
My point was always that these games, wins or losses, these are, like you said, they're exhibitions. And I knew that back then, but nobody wanted to admit it. The moment they started throwing, the Gasparilla Bowl, like the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
Gasparilla Bowl's solid, man. It's in Tampa.
But I thought it was in Jacksonville.
Tampa, yeah. They play at the Buccaneer Stadium.
But the moment these are
the
bake sales.
Bowl. Yeah.
These are bake sales. These are fundraisers, and it's football on TV, and I get it. Like it's pizza in the break room. Not going to complain about it, but let's not act like it matters, right? Let's not act like it's life changing. And now we're to the point where, because I've always said whether it's a big time bowl game or a marquee matchup, guess what? Oregon State's got a marquee matchup. They're playing Notre Dame. I don't care where they play that game. I don't care what time they play that game. You play Notre Dame in college football, it mattered. Not anymore. Not anymore. Not in the Sun Bowl because Sam Hartman's not playing. DJU's not playing. David Martinez is not playing, but not because of an opt-out.
That's away from the team.
Hey, you go into the corner, Damien. You think about what you did.
Much.
And meanwhile, Oregon is playing in the Fiesta Bowl. Now, again, I would always say Fiesta Bowl, New Year's Six Bowl, those ones actually kind of matter. well, they're playing Liberty and going to the Big Ten next year. Other than Bo Nix, which, again, I still wonder if Bo Nix might change his mind. I don't know. Maybe he comes back and plays. But there's going to be a lot of other – like Bucky Irving's not going to be there.
Bo Nix is playing, though, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he might change his mind.
Really?
I don't know. Probably not. He's a stand-up guy.
Man. Nah. But
Do you think he shows up to, like, their – I don't know if they're doing their official practices yet because I know Dan Lanning's out recruiting. He shows up to the first practice like, all right, what – Bucky's not here to hand off to? Jackson Powers Johnson's like, he's not there to snap me the ball? We sure we want to do this? Anyways, it's just, like I said, adapt or die. You got to figure it out. And other than, like, you got the playoff, other than Georgia, Florida State, which, contrary to popular belief, that game actually has national title implications. Florida State beats Georgia in the Orange Bowl, and a one-loss team wins college football playoff. Florida State might be national champions. The AP might just do a 2003 all over again when they gave USC the national championship. Like, they might just do that again. And Florida State might declare themselves national champions if they beat Georgia. Georgia, by the way, much like Ohio State and all these other big-time programs, opt-outs, transfers, like they're dealing with it all. Like, it is a mass exodus out of Athens, Georgia, and Columbus, Ohio. Because we're in a new reality of college football. But, like I said, I was there in 2001 when Oregon going to the Fiesta Bowl was the biggest deal. The only bigger deal ever in Oregon football before that was going to the Rose Bowl in 94. Fiesta Bowl, 2001. Whew! Now it's like, meh. Now, part of that is playing Liberty. If they were playing, I don't know, Missouri or Ole Miss or, one of these 10-win teams, maybe it would have a different feel than playing Liberty. But, yeah, it's just such a weird world right now where all, like, the discussion, nobody in Corvallis is talking about Oregon State playing Notre Dame. Like, no, I shouldn't say nobody. Very few people in Corvallis or in and around Beaver Nation, as you guys call it. That was a little Mike Parker. Beaver Nation.
Yeah,
Love Mike, but, like, nobody's talking about, you know what everybody's talking about? What we talked about last segment, quarterbacks. Can we get Ty Thompson?
It's quite.
Who's out there?
Yeah,
Who's available?
It's quite funny. To that point, Justin, like I said, unrelated to this show, I caught up with Mike Parker yesterday. I don't know if we mentioned the Sun Bowl. We talked for like 20 minutes. I don't think.
It's a game against Notre Dame.
I don't think we mentioned it.
Bowl games are done.
Which is just, I mean, that's the play-by. He's calling that game, Justin.
Yeah, the bowl games are done.
They are.
They'll be done in 4 years. That may not be the worst thing for college football, but, like,
I have to take a step back.
Because bowl games did get a bit ridiculous, right?
Because you called this 2 years ago, and I chose not to believe it because it was the first time my team had gone to a bowl game in 8 years, and Justin wasn't going to poo-poo my experiences. So I enjoyed the heck out of the LA Bowl and the Las Vegas Bowl. Mm-hmm. But I think back now, it's like, damn, if, like, this happened to the Las Vegas Bowl last year, that would have been a lot less fun of a trip. So, again, I know it's not about that.
You remember they went to the LA Bowl, they lost to Utah State.
Yep.
And you were all bummed, and I go, dude, it doesn't matter. And you're like, oh, no, it matters. And next year, boom. What happened the next year? 10 wins.
This is very true.
Next win.
Well, DJ.
That helps. No, they got Bengal Branson.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. I'm getting my wires crossed.
Yeah, so they go there. They lose to Utah State in the LA Bowl. Next year, 10 wins. You want to know why? Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm with you,
doesn't matter if you lose those games.
See, I think it's more for Justin.
By the way, if Oregon loses to Liberty, like Boise State beat Oklahoma, or like Utah beat Alabama, it's not going to matter. It won't matter.
I think it's more like it's going to be, like I said, a glorified exhibition, but I think the games that are not affiliated with the 12-team playoff that still exist, because I still think there will be the Washington States and Oregon States that need a place to play their exhibition. So I do think bowls will survive, but I think it would be wise to make it all about the fans and make it a complete fan experience. And Justin, no disrespect to some bowl games, I will not name any specifically. The bowl games that do not provide great travel destinations or experiences for the fans, those are the ones that die.
Yeah, you're going to be going to L.A., Phoenix,
Florida, Vegas,
Central Florida, Vegas,
Texas, probably.
Dallas. Yeah, there's the Texas Bowl. There's the.
Do you think, Justin, that the bowl game that's played in Yankee Stadium will survive in December? I don't know, right?
I mean, that's kind of a destination.
Okay,
though.
fair.
That's
But the Independence Bowl in Shreveport.
Yeah, that's going away.
Right. So stuff like that.
All right, let's get to the big three. Shellstad. I know Oregon basketball, like, no, not a lot of people are paying attention, but, man, they might be okay. They might be all right. I like this Shellstad kid. Plus, he's one of our guys. Always like that.
I like the local guys, and, Dana Altman's had some success with those West Lynn guys.
Yeah,
Justin.
West Lynn, good basketball program. Took a loss last night, though.
That's what I heard,
Did you
man.
hear about this? West Lynn basketball last night took a loss to the mighty West Salem Titans, incredibly coached team, West Salem Titans. 3-pointer at the buzzer. How do I know that? Oh, might have been at the game. Took in some high school basketball last night. Yeah, West Lynn get taken down by the West Salem Titans, 66-65 last night. Barn burner of a game.
Your first high school game since?
Well, I don't know, last year.
Okay, so you've been to one recently.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I've checked it out. No other reason other than to check out local high school basketball. But, yeah. How about that? How about West Salem going into West Lynn? Into Lion's Den. And I don't know if they call it that, but they should. Took them down. So
it's an impressive win. You might want to look into who's coaching down there. Maybe he'll be rising up the coaching carousel.
Know what they're doing.
Tell
you right now. But
do we have a high school basketball coaches carousel, Justin?
I don't know.
Is his agent gonna start? He better be fielding offers.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe questions might be arising. May or may not have said that I was going to bring that up on this show at this particular time.
I love it.
All right, but Tyson Alger is going to join us coming up in less than an hour now because I've goofed around for long enough. We do have a Worldwide Wednesday coming up as well, but right now, it is time for Make or Miss.
It bounces off the crossbar, and it's good! Oh, my goodness! Oh, and a big miss.
It's Make or Miss here on RCM.
Justin, just to show, and this is not related to Make or Miss, but goes back to our topic about 20 minutes ago. Just in the last 3 minutes, Notre Dame had another player opt out of the bowl game.
Okay.
So it just continues to...
So like, at what point does...
It's proving our point, Justin.
What point does Rudy Rudiger suit up for the Irish?
I mean, maybe.
Like, he probably has some eligibility because, remember, he only played 2 years because he had to go to Holy Cross for 2 years. So Rudy only got like 2 years of eligibility. So with the COVID year and who knows what else, like Rudiger might have about 3 years left. And, I mean, I don't know. Did Rudy ever get a redshirt year?
I don't think so.
Like, how was it, honest to goodness, how was it? Obviously, that movie's not real because if you listen to Joe Montana, who ruined Rudy for everybody, and then if you listen to the actual real Dan Devine, who was like, guys,
I
never did that to Rudy. It was like, I didn't do it. Nobody came and put their jersey on my desk either. If they would have, they'd have been off my team. But no, I didn't do this. So while it's a great movie and all, there are some questions. And again, my question would be, like, how did it come down to one game for Rudy? Like, we can't get a red shirt year.
Well, that and
I don't know if there was red shirting back in the 70s, but he was JUCO transfer. He came from Holy Cross.
It's true. And Justin, I, as someone who went to junior college yourself, I'm curious.
Yeah, buddy. High school with ashtrays.
Hey, I'm just curious. Like, it must be.
Were there a lot of people in? I went to Western Oregon University. You went to full-on Oregon State University, a Pac-12 school. Then,
thank goodness.
Were there a lot of people that smoked?
Cigarettes or
cigarettes?
Vapes?
Cigarettes.
No, because when I was at Oregon State, Justin, is when
was it a tobacco-free campus, or was it just the vaping?
It did become a tobacco-free campus, but it was what I like to call my college career is the arrival of the Juul. It was the arrival of vapes everywhere.
Well, I went to junior college in 1998.
Essentially the same thing, smoking.
And let me tell you, in 1998 in junior college, like everybody smoked.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
Obviously I didn't because smoking is disgusting.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like, so many like I can go out and all the kids in high school that were like sneaking cigarettes were like, wait, I can just go and smoke right now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's
so. That's what we called junior college. Like it's high school with ashtrays, right?
Classes
were small, like high school classes. They took roll on some of them, and
right.
And then you just go and puff a heater if you want.
I just want to know, Justin. We saw Rudy, right, was working in the steel mill, right? Clearly a working class dude. Mom and dad weren't rich. They had a lot of family, right? A lot of brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know how Father Kavanaugh got him into Holy Cross for free. Like, and he Like,
Well, he was working the grounds crew.
okay, so
That's
that
why
was
he
enough
couldn't
to
afford-
pay for Holy Cross?
It was a different time back then.
Okay.
Education.
Fair. I'm just.
Did Rudy have crippling student loans that we don't know about, and that's why he
No.
sold his story?
No.
Did,
I promise. Did Rudy have crip?
I think about what it must have
goodness.
been like. It must have had crippling student
Oh,
loans.
gosh. I never
But yeah,
thought-
no, it was like that was back in the 70s. You could like go to junior college for like $12.
It's true. He's not right.
Like, hey,
It's so true.
If you pay with a $20 bill for this entire term, we'll get you back change. Like it was like $12 to go to college back in like 1974.
Or again, Justin, how about the fact that, again, the part of that movie, Rudy, right? He self-admitted he had a little dyslexia, needed some help.
Yeah.
You don't have the money to pay for a tutor? Just help the tutor get girls, and he'll help you.
But yeah.
I mean, D-Bob, man. I mean, just like there's so many good parts of that.
Would Rudy get canceled today? Like that? Like he was.
Training smarts for girls.
Your actual payment for tutoring is
How many dates I get?
yeah.
That's-
Like I don't want to say human trafficking because that's not exactly what happened.
No.
But it's
He married one of those girls, so that worked out, right? But yeah, no, it's it's a different time. Anyway, all that aside, shout out Rudy, the fake movie that we all love.
also if I was Georgia Tech's coach, I would be so furious. They're gonna run a halfback pass just to get some kid like Vince Vaughn's running a halfback pass.
know.
He's a fourth stringer and he's got that kind of clout in the huddle. If I was Georgia Tech's coach, I'd be furious.
know.
We are never scheduling Notre Dame ever again.
Yeah, that may have been honestly like Vince Vaughn's first movie or one of. It had to have been up there. So go figure, right? It's the movie that introduced us to everything we know.
I'm just
and
saying, Rudy probably has some eligibility left.
he probably does.
All
And-
right, so real quick.
Yeah, sure.
We know Rudy worked in the steel mill.
He did. Tough as nails.
We know
He did lose his best friend. R.I.P. to
Pete.
Pete. Pete, man.
Pete.
Steel mills are dangerous, Justin.
Yeah.
A lot of real dangerous stuff.
Real
going
dangerous stuff going on. A lot of. Anyways, Pete, we lose Pete. R.I.P. to Pete. But we don't know how long Rudy worked in the steel mill for. It's just kind of a time. But like, it was his birthday. He got it, and it was like,
on. He got the Letterman jacket.
what birthday was it? Was his 21st birthday?
He was definitely like a couple years post high. Like I would say,
Was
he
Bo Nix older than Rudy?
probably was close.
Like,
Probably close. Like
Rudy
Rudy was,
was Rudy when he sacked the quarterback against Georgia Tech? Actual age, was he older than what Cam Rising's going to be next year in college football?
dude. He might have been like Brandon Whedon, like pushing. I mean,
I think Chris Wanke is still the oldest.
okay.
Because I think Chris Wanke was like 28 because he played minor league baseball and then came back
and
to
Whedon
Florida
did
State.
the same thing. Yeah, obviously.
But
wow.
yeah, Rudy had to be
Yeah, I'm with you, Justin.
mid like 28, 29 maybe.
Just whatever you do, don't Google Joe Montana Rudy, or the movie will be ruined for you. Just gonna leave it at that.
Well, I mean, anybody with a brain knows like that's
Hey, Justin, there could be kids listening that are like, I love watching Rudy. What are you guys talking about? So yeah, don't Google.
One
Don't
more
Goo-
thing on Rudy, real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, we're
Might as well.
look. Draymond punched a guy last night. Herbert's out for the year.
Not just any guy. He
punched
punched
Nurkic.
Nurk.
Yeah, Nurk got knocked out last night by Draymond. As a high school football player in the 90s, let me tell you, Rudy was the worst movie ever. And I'll tell you why. There's a hierarchy back then. And look, if you grew up in a small town, sorry, some of you just aren't athletic. And some of you just don't get to play football. It's not for everybody. Now, when you're like young Brendan here, please take this in the spirit it's intended. You don't have a football build. Football is not your sport.
No.
But
If I was at like a 1A,
because you went to Snooty Sherwood.
if I was like a 1A, I could have rolled out at receiver.
But that's my point. Like, you grew up in Sherwood, you had options, right? If you were not a football guy,
Hence why I played tennis.
exactly. We didn't have a tennis team, okay? We didn't have a tennis team.
We were good too, Justin.
But, like, you would have options. When you grew up in a small town,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And you like sports and you want to play sports, guess what? You got to play football. Like, that's it. And so, unfortunately, there's a hierarchy, and sometimes you're just going to ride the bench. And practices are going to be really boring, and you're going to stand on the sidelines a lot. And sometimes you're going to be used as a human tackling dummy because, you know what, we don't have enough of them. Rudy came along, and all of a sudden, all those guys thought, if I just try really hard, I'm going to get to play. And it's like, no, you're not going to get to play. and you're ruining practice right now. We're trying to get some stuff done. Quit doing your Rudy practice hero baloney. I didn't say baloney. Like, Rudy was the worst. Because there's like all these, like, I'm sorry. You
remember
you are tiny. You are not going to play. It's not.
Like, imagine,
You probably have a better job than I have now, but I'm sorry. 1997, you don't get to play. But I don't care how much you act like Rudy on the practice field, you ain't getting in the game.
We have to continue with this analogy because it's just golden this morning. Justin, just imagine, okay? It'd be like Ty Thompson, right? Just like Notre Dame's backup quarterback who didn't play either. And it'd be like Ty Thompson going into Oregon's locker room, who's friends with the walk-on and says,
Yeah.
You really got to stop your John Wayne, BS out there. And Rudy would go, what? I mean,
I'm getting you ready to play for Purdue.
Yeah,
No, you're not, Rudy. You're ruining practice. I'm just going to say it. Rudy ruined practice.
It's so true.
And anybody who is my age or maybe even a little bit younger who played football in high school in the 90s knows that too many kids watched Rudy and was like, that's who I'm going to be. And it's like, no, you're not. And you're not ever going to play.
But you're saying, Justin, your high school coach didn't pull an Ara Parsegian and yell at Vince Vaughn and say...
Oh, no, they did.
And say, you have 1/10 of the heart of Rudiger.
Oh, no, they did.
Oh, okay.
They pulled that, too.
Okay, fair.
They just wanted us to work harder. And it was like, it's practice.
Yeah, this is
Anyways.
practice. All right, we have like 3 make or misses we have to get to, Justin.
Well, let's see if I can do it actually fast today.
Yes, so let's see. But first, we got to start with this. I don't think we'll talk too long about it, but folks, I have a really hard time believing a 6'6", 230-pound Draymond Green can knock out a 7-foot, 300-pound Yusuf Nurkic.
Well, we saw him. We know that Draymond Green's got knockout power because he popped Jordan Poole.
That's 70 pounds difference, Justin.
But the head.
Tell me why. I don't believe it. I think Nurk was doing a little bit of acting, but that's...
We talked about it this morning, though.
We know him.
You have been blessed in your life. You've never been punched in the face.
I have not.
You've never been punched. I have been punched in the face. Willie James, 6th grade, punched me right in the face.
Did you win?
I did not win. Willie James had chest hair in 6th grade, okay?
Yeah, that's bad.
And I was mouthy little guy back then. Hadn't quite hit puberty yet. Yeah, 6th grade, Willie James with chest hair, and I mouthed off, and he cold-cocked me. Didn't see it coming. And I watched pro wrestling growing up as a kid, and I watched the Rocky movies. And you always thought, like, oh, you're going to get into a fight, right? It's going to, you go, then I go, then you, and you shake off punches like Rocky did or like Hulk Hogan did. No. Big old chest hair, 6th grade Willie James popped me, and I was like, this is the worst feeling in the world. But that being said, that's, if you caught forearm to like jaw, which it kind of looked like he did, that would take anybody down, I think. Now, Nurkic, he's gone down a couple of times for some questionable things.
That's what's giving me the...
But here's why I don't know if he stayed down. Like, he either committed to the bit or he really got rocked. Like, that was Draymond swinging. Like, I think that could knock your cobwebs loose a little bit to anybody.
All I'm saying is the Trailblazers have a lot more tougher players on their team now.
Potentially, but
Justin doesn't even deny it outright.
Draymond's also a tank. That's a lot of force, and I don't know. Like, I would love to call Nurkic out for a little floppy flopperson, but I don't think this was it.
Let's see. I mean,
I think he got cold cocked, and I think he went down and had to I need a minute here.
Yeah, I mean, then again though, we used to say no one begs to get hit in the beak more than Nurkic. Like, that was his.
Okay, so I've been punched in the jaw before. That stinks. That's weird.
You didn't break your jaw though.
No.
Lucky. Yeah.
No, but I've also
had that happen and then get screwed shut. Ooh.
But I've got hit in the nose. That is the worst.
Break your nose?
Didn't break my nose.
Wow, you got lucky a couple times, man.
You get the water, and so it looked like, oh, are you crying? It's like, no, you punched me in the nose. Like,
you had a black eye?
I've had a black eye.
Now, see, that I have
I've had a black eye. I've had a fat lip. Didn't fight a ton growing up, but I've been in enough scuffles.
Yeah, I had a black eye from sports, Justin. We were playing soccer, and I took a full, toe kick punch within, just right, wrong place, wrong time, right there. Biggest black eye, but that's kind of the worst,
I took
cosmetic injury, I should
a
say.
ground ball to the face once. That was that one hurt.
Yeah.
But no, you get hit in the nose and your eyes start watering and you're like, I'm not crying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I think Nurkic got. I think he got rattled. I think the cobwebs got cleared out a little bit.
Fair. All right, let's have some fun with this one, Justin. One that was quick. We got to one pretty quick. This one will be fun because I saw this headline and I cannot believe that. Thankfully, folks, I'll preface this. It is not the great state of Oregon's taxpayer dollars being wasted. So we'll just leave it at that. Ron DeSantis thinks this college football playoff lawsuit will boost his poll numbers.
So he's suing, and I think the Attorney General of the state of Florida is suing. And this is grandstanding. This is all these politicians do. Both sides. There's just a bunch of Stay out of sports. All right, I hate this. I go all the way back to the steroid stuff in front of Congress. It's like all you're doing is grandstanding. You don't have any idea what you're talking about with regard to sports. You've already ruined football with your NIL stuff, and now you're trying to look. They say in Hollywood there are two types of people. There are those who work and those who sue. Florida State, I feel bad for.
Yeah.
I do. I feel bad for them.
Me too.
It stinks. They got job. They did. But you know what's the great thing about sports is, like, if you do get screwed, you get a chance to bounce back. Now, some of those guys will never get a chance to play ever again, and that is sad and that is unfortunate. But you're going to get a chance to play next year. You're going to get a chance to play in a bowl game against Georgia. And obviously this is politicians, not Florida State. But don't whine and cry that it's like that will turn people on you so fast.
I mean, to me,
take it on the chin and like, yeah, we got screwed. Norvell had his initial statement, and that was like, we got screwed. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And then now, like, don't go and whine and cry to, like, the judge and, like, fix this. Like, no, it's not fixable.
Yeah,
you got screwed. Nope.
To me, I looked at this and I saw, Justin, this is 2024. We have an election cycle coming up.
Yeah.
Is Florida a very important state usually every 4 years? Kind of. And
Is this going to be a campaign thing in the Iowa caucus about how Florida State should get in?
For somebody who is really struggling in the polls, why don't you endear the whole Seminole fan? I mean, it just...
But Texas is a pretty big state, too. And it's like, what, are you going to kick Texas out?
It's true. I mean, to me, it just seems so silly to me, Justin, that real... I'm not going to say men and women hours, because Attorney General is a female. Real men and women hours in taxes in the state of Florida are being used to sue the College Football Playoff Committee. Like, just on itself, tell me how ridiculous that is.
What's your end game here?
That's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous.
Games are scheduled.
Go fix the oceans.
It's over. Like, you got screwed. Accept it and move on. All right. All that being said, like, I understand the frustration, and it's easier to sit here in my spot and go like, oh, well, you got screwed. Get over it. But kind of need to get over it. All right, let's go to the break. When we come back, we have got Worldwide Wednesday. But before we do that, I want to tell you about the good folks at DeBella. That's right. I've been talked about DeBella earlier this week. They are the home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. And look, we know Portland weather can be brutal. It's going to be nice today, but you know what? It's been raining. Snow might come. And this winter, it might even be colder than last year. You can save up to 30% on your energy bills with the good folks at DeBella. That's right. They're going to take care of your roofing, window, siding, renovations. If your roof is leaking or just aging, you can get a free quote right now from DeBella. They can also help you with windows, sidings, bath projects. The DeBella team is one of the best in Oregon. I know what you're saying. Look, Justin, everybody says they're the best. But go and look at the reviews. 15,000 five-star reviews on Google right now for DeBella. It's the perfect time to connect with them. They're an amazing finance opportunity. 0 down, no payments till 2025 on approved credit. You heard right. 0 down, no payments until 2025 on approved credit for your roofing, siding, window, or bath renovation. Visit debella.us for your free, no-obligation appointment. They'll make updating your home easy and simple. DeBella, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. holiday season. Some say it's the most wonderful time of the year. Some don't feel the same. A little bah humbug up in the air. Some are like me, kind of right there in the middle. Can feel a little bit festive, but you know what? We don't need to go overboard. But one house in New York State is getting everybody sorts of fired up, which brings us to today's edition of Worldwide Wednesday. Here we go.
We searched far and wide, and we found the most random story you never heard. It's Worldwide Wednesday on RCM.
All right, so a house in Unionvale, New York, upstate New York, back in 2012, set the then Guinness Book of World Records for the most holiday lights on a residential property. 346,283 Christmas lights. This was 2012. Before again topping their display in 2014. This latest version once again crushed their previous record because this house in New York State has 720,426 lights. That's the current Guinness World Record holding count. You might be saying, wow, what an unbelievable display of holiday cheer. Well, some people on their block are not so happy because apparently not only is this house lit up literally from 250,000 lights, but there is also sound to go along with it. It's pretty loud. And anybody that knows this, if you have one of these fairly famous Christmas light houses, it draws a lot of tourists in. It draws a lot of visitors. Well, some people on the street are like, you know what? We're getting a little sick and tired of this whole thing. Because not only every December do we got to deal with your house that is like the Sacramento Kings light the beam every night, and your techno Christmas music blaring at all hours, and we're just sitting here, trying to watch, Selling Sunset on Netflix or whatever, and we can't even get through. On top of all that, turns out all these clowns, especially on the weekend, show up with their beers, their seltzers, and their mini wine bottles because they are in the very festive holiday mood to look at Christmas lights. And, well, if you're on a residential street and you've had, enough beers and seltzers, you know that there's not really an easy place to go to the bathroom. And apparently some of these neighbors are like, yeah, these people come by to look at your lights. They're going number one in our yard. So they are a little bit fired up. It's essentially running a Legoland out of your property for 40 days, one neighbor told the New York Times. Now, normally I would be like, you know what? Hey, it's Christmas. Don't be all bah humbug. Get over it. But I can understand where it's like, you know what? It's December. We need eggs. We're just trying to go to the store. Our normal street is now a parking lot. I can't get to the Safeway. Wasn't 300 and some thousand enough? You had to go 750,000. I know there's like a couple of places here in Portland, like where the neighborhoods like really get into it. That's definitely not my neighborhood. I think I'm still the only house that has Christmas lights up right now. So shout out to me. I win my neighborhood Christmas tree or Christmas lights, but I don't have 750,000. I got a couple of strings, but I still win my street. Just saying.
Yeah, no, this is
Could you just imagine it's like one house on your street and for like 40 days from like Thanksgiving to Christmas, like, yeah, our street's a parking lot. We can't get anywhere.
To be honest, Justin, this seems like they just took, because I always was impressed as a kid. I'm like, the McAllisters and Home Alone always had, like, that house was huge.
They have automatic timers on their lights, too.
They do. And I don't know if you know that Joe Pesci has them all timed out, right?
Yep.
Now. Yeah, no,
I also have automatic timers on my lights.
Nice. Don't let the the OK van sit in front of your house for a week, Justin. But yeah, I don't blame
I'll tell you
him.
exactly when my lights come on too.
I mean,
at dark.
I mean, you think about it, like, yeah, like if you were like if it became like a frat house essentially, and for how with people urinating and leaving cans, it sounds a little like a frat house, Justin. I could see why neighbors would be upset.
Would you be more upset with like the people there or the noise and the light?
The people.
I think so too.
The people. It'd be
like that.
People would be like, maybe like you said, a wine cooler. Maybe they stumble into your yard because your yard is maybe dark compared to the other one. Maybe they're.
Or like if you're like across the street and somebody wants to get like a picture to put on the gram or something, so they're like on your front porch. It's like,
Go away.
get off my lawn, literally. Like,
Exactly.
It's enough. Get off my lawn. He says, look, if you bring joy and happiness to 50,000 people and you have 10 or 20 who don't like it, I think it's a fair trade. So the battle continues in upstate New York. All right, coming up next, we've got hour number 3. Tyson Alger joins the big show. We got the RCM mailbag. All that coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio.
And here's what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Justin Herbert's season is over. The Los Angeles Chargers quarterback has been shut down for the season. Will have surgery on his broken right index finger. The Chargers sit at 5-7. Will Brandon Staley, the head coach of the Chargers, be there to coach Herbert in 2024? We shall see. Washington Wizards and Capitals owner says he's moving the team to Northern Virginia and out of the D.C. Metroplex. They can exit as soon as 2027. And Draymond Green flagrant 2 foul after throwing a spinning back fist forearm to the head of Yusuf Nurkic. Potential suspension coming for Draymond Green. Not to be outdone, Nikola Jokic, he gets tossed in a win over the Bulls last night for language to an official. Coming up in 20 minutes, Tyson Alger is going to be joining the show playing through illness, as he just texted me. But he's a gamer. So we'll talk to Tyson Alger in 20 minutes. We get an RCM mailbag. Hour number 3 starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. The most transparent show in Portland is Rip City Mornings with Justin Myers. Here on 620 Rip City Radio.
All right, welcome to hour number 3 of RCM. Earlier in the show, we talked about the potential for Ty Thompson, former 5-star high school recruit, spent 3 years at Oregon, saw sparing playing time, and now looking at yet another big-time transfer with Dylan Gabriel coming in for the Ducks, and Ty Thompson has now hit the transfer portal, which I'm not surprised. I'm surprised, honestly, that he hasn't hit the transfer portal before. But now rumors are swirling that maybe Ty Thompson could just stay right there in the Willamette Valley and just hop, skip, and a jump, just drive past Junction City. I don't know if you go through Harrisburg or if you want to go through Monroe. Either way, it's going to get you right to your spot there in Corvallis. Take a left at Tristing Tree, and you go up and over the bridge, and maybe at some point you're going to run into Reeser Stadium. And is he going to be heading up to Corvallis? In-state, like, credits probably transfer easier as well. I mean, I don't know.
I would say compared to just even yesterday, like it has some legs. Like before, I'd say even yesterday or the day before, it was very just maybe wishful thinking from Oregon State fans. But again, there could be some legs. I know that Oregon State has, he's from Arizona. I know Oregon State has some guys that went to his high school that are on the roster. So who knows, And
it would make for a very interesting September 14th matchup.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
And we're going to talk to Tyson coming up in a couple of minutes because I don't think we've talked to him since the news broke that Civil War is going to continue. Now it's going to continue in September. It's going to continue as a non-conference game, and it's going to it's going to struggle for a couple of years before we get into this new normal of Oregon State, and what is this rivalry going to look like? Obviously, there's always going to be, I think, some part of the rivalry just by geography and by the fact that in our fair state, there is city and there is rural. I grew up in the rural part of the state. My parents were from Eugene. I was the only Oregon fan I knew. Every one of my friends growing up in Douglas County, they're all Oregon State fans. So that part, I think, of the rivalry is going to continue. But right now, as we say, Oregon State's kind of struggling with regard to player personnel. We'll see, because this is the part of the transfer portal that nobody wants to talk about, right? It's not. I don't even want to call it the dark little secret, but it is kind of the unsexy part of the transfer portal is that there are only 85 scholarships available per team. That's still a thing. And there's a lot of turnover. And since we are turning college football into a NFL light version, and Deion Sanders, like, he said the quiet part out loud, right? He came in last year at Colorado. He started cutting guys. He said, yeah, sorry, it's just not going to work. We're bringing in other guys. Your scholarship's still good. You can go to school here, but you're not a part of this football team. And he would cut players, which had always kind of been done in college football, but more in secret. He came in and was like flat out, yeah, we're having a spring game. We're having a cut day. We're essentially going to release you. So now with all of these transfers and with all these moving pieces, at some point, some player is going to enter the transfer portal thinking that they've got a spot at a Power 4 school, only to have that spot taken by a surprise flip, a surprise commitment, maybe a 5-star guy on, because signing day is still coming up in February, right? Brendan, do they still have signing day in February for high school kids? Like, there's an early signing day that most of them have already done.
It's next week.
That's next week. Thank you very much.
Wednesday.
I knew it was coming up
and
sometime.
then the February one is essentially useless. So it's
going to be useless until some big-time 5-star guy goes like, yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until February and get my bag. But regardless, yeah, next week, so there's going to be a high school signing. And this is what, you go back to what happened last year, right? This point in time last year, Oregon had Dante Moore coming to Eugene. He was the number 2 quarterback prospect in high school last year behind Arch Manning, and he was on his way to Oregon because a lot of people felt Bo Nix was on his way to the NFL. Bo Nix goes, wins the Holiday Bowl, contemplates and says, I'm coming back. And I'm sure came back out of the goodness of his heart and the love for the University of Oregon. Clearly did not come back for any amount of money. You know what I mean? Clearly came back for the love of playing for this team. Definitely didn't come back for any amount of NIL money. And maybe that money was probably going to be more than what a rookie quarterback contract would be around the third round. So he goes. Dante Moore flips, goes to UCLA. Now, remember, Dylan Gabriel was supposed to go to UCLA. Now, I don't know if that was because of the domino effect or if Oklahoma came late and was like, how do you like this NIL deal, Dylan? So he flips, he goes to Oklahoma, and somewhere along the line of all this movement, there's probably a quarterback that is like, all right, well, I don't have a team anymore. I thought I did, but I don't have a team anymore. And you're going to see next week because Riley Leonard, he goes from Duke to Notre Dame. Dylan Gabriel goes to Oregon. What, Cam Ward's like being Ohio State is the big one now?
That's what it sounds like. There's a lot of Buckeye Nation that's
thinking. It'd be very interesting to see what Cam Ward can do at Ohio State.
Can I just be bold? I watched him play. I know again, you want to watch the best of Cam Ward, watch him cook Oregon State in Pac-12 opener this year.
He did cook him.
You'll thank me later, but that was the best he played all year. Justin, Cam Ward is not better than Kyle McCord.
Well, I don't know if that was really an option though. Kyle McCord, I think, was like, I'm chasing my money bags right now.
But you know what I mean though? Like, I think that would be a downgrade. Like for Oregon, that's why I'm impressed. Like going from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Florida State likely going from Jordan Travis to DJ Uyunglele. Not bad. Like, I don't blame DJ. That's a great spot for him to go be, most likely. But I don't know. I don't know about Cam Ward. I have some thoughts on like a little bit of doubt, I guess.
But that's what's interesting. And I had heard, and I don't know if this is true, this might just be on internet fodder, that essentially Cam Ward was kind of Oregon's backup plan. Right, because they had made Dylan Gabriel was the guy, and if he didn't come to Oregon, that they were going to try to steal Cam Ward to come right down, get up and over the mountains, and then come down I-5. So that didn't happen. Dylan Gabriel comes. Cam Ward's now sitting. He might go to Ohio State. But point is, it's not just quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are the only ones we hear about. The other thing that is going there's a defensive lineman somewhere. There's a strong safety somewhere. There's a running back somewhere that is like, I'm not getting the love. Everybody's going into the portal, and I'm going to go too. And sometimes you go into the portal, and guess what? You get re-recruited, and it's going to feel really, really good. You're like, hey, I'm sure Riley Leonard, and it might have been a done deal, Riley Leonard going to Notre Dame, but I'm sure at some point, right, there are some players that are like, they go into the portal, and all of a sudden, here comes Alabama. Here comes USC. Here comes Ohio State, right? Here comes all these guys. Then there are the players that we don't talk about all that often who go into the portal and go, I have entered my name into the portal. I have 3 years of eligibility remaining. They do their, once a blank, always a blank thing on Instagram. And then they go, all right, I open up my recruitment. Yeah, that's crickets you hear, because nobody's recruiting you. Because unfortunately, there's 1,000 kids in the transfer portal, and we're only talking about like the top 15% of them. So that's where Oregon State, I think, can come in. And if you're Oregon State and you kind of maybe be a little bit patient and you kind of wait for some players who thought they were maybe headed to UCLA or thought they were headed to Arizona State or thought they were headed to Texas A&M, and instead they didn't get that call. All right, well, you're clearly a Power 5 or Power 4 caliber player. Want to come out west? And I think that's how Trent Bray is going to have to build up his team. You know what I mean?
I would think so, too, because, the other part of the piece is that Oregon State's still going to have to find some way to, make the NIL work. And from what I've heard, both DJU and Aiden Childs are both very well taken care of in that regard for Oregon State and, who they are. So they will have some resources to go get a quarterback. We all know that's kind of the most important position.
Mm-hmm.
I've said before, I think Ty Thompson would be great against the competition they're going to play the next 2 years. It'd be a good medium ground, considering that he maybe wasn't quite good enough or experienced enough to be at Oregon's level.
Yeah.
But could he be a starting quality quarterback against the teams in Oregon State schedule next year? I think so.
I
We'll see.
think he could too, especially with Damian Martinez in the backfield. But Oregon State's good. Like, Trent Bray is going to have to moneyball this thing, right?
Big time.
Like, there
Big
is
time.
is it the Beaver Dam or something, or the Dam Right Collective or whatever?
Damnation. Yeah.
That's it. Damnation's going on here. But yeah, so like, you're gonna have your collective, and you're gonna have some money in the pool there, and you're gonna be able to offer some. But you're gonna, like I said, what you do is you kind of wait. Some guy who thinks he's good, some 4-star kid thinks, I'm leaving Purdue, and boy, the bag's gonna come my way, and they're not gonna get a call. And you're like, well,
And they're left in the portal.
how about $20K? It's a nice little chunk of change. Not going to be able to buy a house, but you know what? Your bills will be taken care of, and you'll be able to, do a couple of things here and there. But how about 20, 30K? And I think that's going to be, like Washington State and Oregon State, like that's going to be potentially their lifeline, is like the old way you used to do recruiting. That's how Oregon built up their team. It's how Mike Riley built up his team, right? You go and find the California kids that USC and UCLA overlooked. So now you got to go and find transfer portal kids that thought that they were going to be able to get a bag from Florida or get a bag from North Carolina, and it's like, yeah, I didn't get a call.
Yeah, because I think I don't think that will change for high school. I think Oregon State is, especially Justin, is going to be more of a transfer portal school. I mean, DJU is the classic case. We've said this forever. Would DJU have ever looked at Oregon State coming out of high school?
Never.
Never. Out of college, it's an option.
You can go find those guys. We're going to find Tyson Alger. He's going to be coming up on the other side. But before that, I want to tell you once again about the good folks at DeBella. That's right. Who is DeBella? Well, they're official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. And right now, if you are looking at a home renovation, you need to give DeBella a call, because if your roof is leaking, aging, and you want a free quote, DeBella can also help you with your windows, siding, bath projects. They're one of the best in Oregon, and they have over 15,000 5-star reviews on Google for their excellent work. Plus, here's the deal. The money is right, because it's the perfect time to connect with DeBella, because there's an amazing finance opportunity. 0 down, no payments until 2025. That's, of course, on approved credit. But you heard me correctly. 0 down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit for your roofing, siding, windows, or bath renovations. Visit DeBella.us for free, no obligation appointment, and they'll make updating your home super easy. DeBella, they are the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. Tyson Alger joins the show next, 620 Rip City Radio. We very much appreciate anybody that will take the time out of their very busy day to come on this particular program and hear my doofusy questions and try to educate our audience, and especially those who like to come on the show each and every week, and those that will go the extra mile, that will battle through some illness to be able to get the message out to the people. And that is exactly what is going on, because our friend of the program, Tyson Alger, is about to set a new precedent for grit and determination over the next 20 or so minutes on the show. We welcome him back in his normal spot, Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor. Tyson, how we feeling? We all right?
We're hanging in there, man. You know, every great sports radio guest has to go through a little bit of adversity to get to the point in their career where they want to go. And you know, this is just paying the bills. You know, we're here. Let's get going.
You know what? Adversity causes some men to break, Tyson, and causes others to break records. And I feel like numbers wise, we're going to be breaking records over the next couple of minutes. And through that adversity, that these people will continue to listen in and tell their friends to listen in as well.
You know, I was just inspired by seeing the gritty effort from West Salem last night, beating West Lynn in West Lynn. You know, it just inspired me to, like, I couldn't pass on coming on the radio show this morning. I'm ready and I'm locked in and I'm inspired.
What a win for the Titans last night, by the way.
Oh my gosh. It's the coaching. It's definitely the coaching and like the bloodline of the coaching staff.
I would think so. I almost stormed the court, honest to God. Then I realized, no, that's kids out there. Probably don't need me storming the court, but
no, but that would have been such a fun radio show the next morning, though, had you stormed the court. Like, you could have done a whole storming the court segment.
44-year-old local radio host storms court during preseason non-conference high school basketball game. That would have been the headline. And you know what? I would have taken it. All right. We got some stuff to talk about, though, because since the last time you and I have talked, what a crazy week it's been with regards to Oregon and Oregon football. Let's try to go in chronological order. We learned less than a week ago, Civil War is going to continue. It's going to be in September. That's going to be interesting. Obviously, it's not ever going to be the way it was, but we can sit and yell at the clouds all we want, or we can just adapt and try to make the best of it. I like this. I don't know how Oregon State fans feel. I know one particular Oregon State fan, not exactly happy about it, but in terms of like playing chess, not checkers, I like the fact that for at least the foreseeable future, Oregon and Oregon State are going to continue to play. It is going to be weird in like probably 85-degree weather in the middle of September, but regardless, I like this. What do you think of Oregon State kind of continuing the rivalry?
Yeah, it's going to be weird years from now when kids are hearing their grandma and grandpa like opining nostalgia for the old Civil War and being relatively confused by that. I think this is cooler heads eventually prevailing. Like, yeah, it's going to be super weird with it being in September and the fact that they're playing in different conferences and contrasting it with everything that was on the line. In this year's game, especially next year, it's going to be a drastic change, and I think there's still going to probably be a fair amount of ticked off people in the discussion leading up to the game. But I think ultimately this is both schools realizing that even in this changing landscape, even though both these schools have different goals now, I think it just makes sense for both. It keeps the state happy. It keeps both teams in state for a week. I mean, the travel that both of these schools are going to have to face in the coming years is going to be insane. And to be able to at least like batten down and then get one of those games in state is huge. I think especially with after seeing like the agreement that Washington and Washington State came to with the Apple Cup, it would have been, I think, just a really bad look had they not been able to come together and get this thing. Now, that doesn't mean I expect the game to be a classic and perfect and everyone happy during it. We're going to have plenty to talk about next year, but at least we're going to be able to talk about it next year.
And there's obviously the historic part of it. There is like the nostalgia part of it. And I do think, even though we're turning college football into NFL light, like rivalries still have a huge part of college football, and I don't think that's going to be going away anytime soon. But Tyson, there's also a financial part of it, right? And we have learned over the years, right, just how much money and how much influence it has. And for Oregon State, at least next year and every other year, seemingly after that, you get a guaranteed sellout. And I don't know how many other games they're going to be able to schedule for the foreseeable future that can guarantee them a sellout. You could probably double ticket prices for that game as well. and who knows, like you get a corporate sponsor. I don't know. Maybe you bring the old name back. I don't know if it's still problematic or not, but maybe bring the old name back, throw a corporate sponsor on there, and you can make it a financially viable entity for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, like that's absolutely huge for Oregon State because it's just, schedules come out a year earlier, and from Oregon's perspective, I'm sure there's already Oregon fans who have bought their tickets for going out to Michigan, out to Wisconsin, and like all these, like people look ahead, and I think that's been the toughest part for Oregon State, kind of dealing in this limbo, is they just especially when like Bray became head coach, it's like, okay, like what's the schedule that you're going to be playing? They've obviously came out with their Mountain West affiliation stuff since then, but I think it gives them at least a little bit of a roadmap to normalcy. You're going to have money coming in. You're going to have one big game a year at least. I expect the Ducks to win most of those, especially as the talent discrepancy gets wider. That being said, if Oregon State wins one of these when they're in different conferences, when Oregon has such an advantage, like obviously you're not going to be playing for like a national title, or there's not going to be the chance for the Rose Bowl berth on the line, but that's going to be a very satisfying win for Oregon State when they eventually do win one of these, because it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can talk about like how high flying Oregon is and all this sort of thing, but like it's going to happen at some point, and it's going to be chaos when it does. And I can't wait to be 49 years old at 8:25 in the morning, still having COVID, listening to an AI recording of your voice, because at this point, like they got it down. Like
the tech overlords will definitely get it down. It's not going to take long.
What's the deal with this football game? And then I'll respond. And I'm happy they got this thing done, because also it would be such a pain in the butt to each year have to do the discussion. Like, is this going to be the year that they finally come back and play? Like they're going to play. It's just not going to be the same game.
It is also going to be interesting if, in fact, some of the and I love message board rumors, and who knows if they are true, but we're going to live in that world right now, as you mentioned at 8:27 in the morning. If the message board rumors are true, and Ty Thompson potentially heads up the road to Corvallis. I mean, for the first September Civil War, and it's Ty Thompson starting quarterback for the Oregon State Beavers. Boy, talk about a little tangled web we weave with regards to rivalry if that potentially happens.
So if you're Oregon, how do you handle Ty Thompson in that situation if you're an Oregon fan? Because I think 99% of Oregon fans still are really on board with Ty Thompson, even though he's announced his trade. I think everyone gets it, right? Mm-hmm. This was a kid who paid his dues. He's been replaced twice. Of course he's going to, I think most Oregon fans are please enter the transfer portal, Ty. It's a smart move for you. But if he ends up in Corvallis, and he ends up being pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get mad at the kid. I mean, this is just straight up, if I was him and I thought I was good enough to do all this, I'd want to go to the rival. That'd be fun. And you're going to be guaranteed to get one nationally huge game, and you get to play against Dylan Gabriel, and that could be fun. But we'll see. I also have yet to see Ty play more than 15 plays in a row. So I don't know if he would come into Oregon State and beat out whoever they potentially still have left on their
Ben Goldbranson is the name you were searching for. The Las Vegas Bowl MVP, Ben Goldbranson, is who you were thinking of, Tyson.
Hey, he's got a pretty high winning percentage.
He really does. I mean, as an Oregon fan, by the way, Tyson Alger joining the program, playing through the pain like a champion, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. I'm with you as somebody who just pays attention to college football. Ty Thompson, hey, best of luck, kid. Even going to Oregon State, but Tyson, he's still going to be wearing orange and black, right? It's still going to be somewhat of a fresh new rivalry, and some Oregon fans are going to be a bit silly about it. But regardless, I think it'd be really cool if the first full game we see of Ty Thompson, other than some scrub time and, like you said, putting more than 15 plays together, happens to be against Oregon as the starting quarterback at Oregon State. I love everything about it, and I hope it happens.
Oregon State could just turn into the 1-year portal destination for all of Oregon's step down guys. It could be kind of actually, I don't want to start having people calling in and saying don't ever bring Tyson on the radio again, but Yeah, it just could be like the chip on your shoulder type of team. And I think Oregon fans will love Ty Thompson in that game if he goes 15 for 38 with like 185 yards and 2 touchdowns and a pick. But if he goes like 35 for 41 with 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and makes that thing close, I think I think there will be some adjectives thrown in front of Ty Thompson's name.
Potentially, but it's going to be interesting. So I mentioned the chronological order since last time we talked to you. So Oregon State are going to be playing next year, and you mentioned it. The quarterback of the Oregon Ducks is going to be Dylan Gabriel. Which let's talk big picture, Tyson. For the foreseeable future, is Oregon ever going to recruit a high school quarterback ever again? Because I don't see why you would. If you could just go and get Bo Nix for 2 years, and you can go and get Dylan Gabriel, and maybe they might even get Dante Moore back, who knows? Like, is there any reason, if you are Oregon, to ever recruit a high school quarterback ever again?
Like, the only rationale I can see for actually doing that is just to make sure you have a backup for when your transfer gets hurt. Because, I mean, And keep in mind, like, every school in the country would like to think that they're going to be in line for the best possible quarterback transfer on the market. Like, it's easy logic to say, but Oregon's actually in that position where, I mean, how many years running have they been in contention for one of the better ones? And Gabriel fits Oregon's system pretty damn well. He's very accurate. He's mobile. He obviously knows Oregon's history and lineage pretty well. But that being said, like, if you're a roster like Oregon's and you just have 4- and 5-star talent everywhere on the roster, and each era doesn't have to be defined necessarily by like who's playing at quarterback, and it can just be like the overall talent of the roster, like why wouldn't you go out and make sure you have at least one sure thing? Mm-hmm. Like quarterback is the one thing that separates what really good teams from average teams. And if Oregon can go into each season knowing that it has at least like a certain baseline, like, I don't think Dylan Gabriel is better than Bo Nix. I don't think he's better than Michael Penix, but I think he's very close, and I think we've seen enough production out of him. I mean, heck, next year he's going to pass Bo Nix for most career starts in college football. I think you know what you're getting, and even with the best high school prospects, you don't know what you're getting. Like Ty Thompson, we all thought he was going to be a stud. Dante Moore, who still might be, he didn't look great his freshman year at UCLA. Like, there's so much more risk in bringing in those guys when, if you're a program that's looking to perennially compete for championships, why not look at the portal? But, again, Oregon's doing this. Other teams are going to be seeing it. Other teams are going to be trying it. It's not going to work like this every single year, and that might be why you need to have somebody on your roster, a freshman coming in, like a Luke Moga, who the Ducks are bringing in this season. Mm-hmm. And just cross your fingers and hope that they don't know what the transfer portal is. Like maybe you have them like skip that session. Like,
transfer. You can just skip right through this, and then it's staying here. Well, here's what I do. Look, we are living in an NIL world, Tyson, and now I wonder how many times, let's just say, the Ohio State starting quarterback, because they didn't make the playoff, transfers, or the Oklahoma quarterback transfer. With these NIL deals, how long before we see some of these boosters, maybe even particular Captain Swoosh over there in Beaverton, get a little bit creative and almost put like incentive clauses in them to prevent players from going in the transfer portal? Because that's next, right? That's what's coming next, is trying to get a – because somebody paid Dante Moore a lot of money to play 4 bad football games at UCLA. You know what I mean? Like, that money they're not getting back. And I just wonder how long before they start putting in some, like, a release clause or something that, like, you got to pay the money back. We can't be too far off of that, right? Because it's the Wild West.
Oh, yeah, completely. I mean, like, what is this, the 3rd full year of NIL now? And I feel like it's evolved every single year. Like, I really wish, like, they weren't so secretive about all this. I think ultimately that's going to be the move that brings us all kind of into an equal playing field. Is like, I think that they just have to announce NIL deals, because like like even just going into the recruiting stuff, it's like, Dylan Gabriel's going to come in here and say that like he chose Oregon because of the opportunity and the coaching. And you know what? I really do like Eugene in December. But like ultimately he got something from somebody. And I don't think it really helps the discussion when it's so secretive and it's so like generalized. Like I think making this public isn't only going to help the public, but it's going to eventually help the players too as they start to set precedent for like the deals that they're getting and what's available to them. Because like right now, it's just, again, it's the Wild West. The players don't know what they're doing. The agents are new in this too. And at some point, Joe Schmo, the car dealership, isn't going to be wanting to give $500,000 to a player who's going to leave next year.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us on 620 Rip City Radio. We've also seen plenty of Oregon players now declaring for the draft and essentially opting out of the bowl game against Liberty. We know that that Bo Nix is going into the draft, but he says he's going to play. Now you see kind of these guys, whether it's Bucky Irving or Jackson Powers Johnson or any of these guys. Tyson, question, is Bo Nix going to change his mind in like a week and just say, yeah, I thought about it a little bit more. I don't know if I'm going to be playing in this game.
Well, and like, is playing in this game like the same sort of tease of like NSYNC's reuniting at the MTV movie awards this week, and like they might like do like half a song, like they'll do like half a dance, and then they'll come back and they'll do the photo ops, and then like they'll have the headlines of like Justin reunited with everybody. That could end up being a little bit of what this bowl game is. That also being said too is like no disrespect to Liberty. However, I don't think the Ducks need Jackson Powers Johnson or Bucky Irving or, frankly, well, actually, maybe they might need Bo Nix because I think I'm next on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Like I think they'll do okay in this game. Like I still don't think Liberty is a football team close to Oregon's caliber. And maybe Bo Nix is the most heroic person of all by saying, I'm going to play in this game because I hope some people watch this team. Because if Nix wasn't playing in it, I don't really know what you're looking for in this game, especially with Ty gone. It's like you're not necessarily looking at like Austin Novosad as like the future of Oregon at quarterback there. So I think if you're an Oregon fan, you've watched the majority of the 2023 Oregon Ducks, and this will be like a little like postscript at the end, a little epilogue, I guess.
It's also going to be 10 a.m. New Year's Day. Like we haven't even shaken off our New Year's Eve yet. You know what I mean? It's going to be very early on New Year's Day after, at least for your boy Tyson, a uncharacteristic late night because I might be doing East Coast New Year's this year. I don't know.
I'm just going to send a message to everyone on the corridor list and be like, hey, let's just communally agree to start the DVRs at like 2 p.m. Let's just like stay off Twitter. You can watch the parade or whatever people do on New Year's Day. I'm usually working. But yeah, let's start this new year right by starting it a little bit late.
Just a little bit later. Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. One last thing I want to get to because Oregon did play a basketball game last night, and judging by the attendance, you might not have noticed it, but they did. They beat Cal Baptist. And I had this conversation with a friend over the weekend. We were kind of, couple of dudes, like doing what dudes do, talking about the good old days of, Oregon basketball and Pac-10 basketball back in the day when, like, games actually mattered. And I realize college basketball has changed, but Matthew Knight, even in some of the best years, hasn't quite popped for Oregon athletics the way that Autzen Stadium has or some of these other venues. And I'm just wondering, like, is this a college basketball thing? Is this a Dana Altman thing? Is this, I don't know, just a football program kind of taking over the fact that Oregon basketball buzz since a Final Four run? And obviously the COVID year where Peyton Pritchard and that team looked to be able to make another potential run was looking high. But, like, the buzz around Oregon basketball just has never quite caught on lately, Tyson. And I'm just curious is this just college basketball in the year 2023 and moving forward where we just don't pay attention until February?
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's part of that. College football has done everything it can to nuke college basketball in December. They moved the early signing day up to December. They have the playoff. They have all these conference championship games. Like I don't understand why college basketball is so adamant that it starts its season in early November when nobody's watching. I mean, the Oregon Ducks, like, name the top 4 scorers on this team, like, and you can't include Jackson Shelstad. Go. Like, it's probably pretty tough. Like it's just this is an Oregon roster that again is a bunch of new players. It's a coach who isn't going to go out there and put on a top hat and monocle and cane and go out onto the quad and try to get people to come out and come see the games. And then also, like, if you do look at Oregon's most successful period of men's basketball under Altman, it was during the 2016, 17, 18 when football was down. Like, that was the big saving grace. That was the big saving grace for Oregon, was that as they were kind of rebuilding their football program, it was when they had Dylan Brooks and Jordan Bell and Tyler Dorsey, and on the women's side, they had Sabrina Ionescu. Like, that was the absolute perfect time for that to bubble for the Ducks. And then they just haven't really, COVID happened, roster turnovers happened, them missing the tournament. Like, I don't think the Oregon men's basketball fandom is one that's going to be a rabid fan base if they're playing in the NIT. Like, it's not like an Indiana basketball where people are just going to show up because there's an inflated thing bouncing in the gym. Like, I think Oregon's got to be good. There's got to be a reason to go. And at this point too, like, why not try something different with Matthew Knight? Like, paint the floor, change the student section, like just do something, because it's been 13, 14 years of people complaining about the exact same things.
Yeah.
And outside of 2 peak years, it hasn't been successful. It really hasn't, from when you compare it to how successful every other Oregon venture is at the gate and how well they do promoting all of that. Like, it's kind of a failure. And what was it, like 2,500 people at the game last night? I might be exaggerating a little bit.
I don't know if it was that many were in the seats, but then maybe that was tickets sold, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, I know it's Cal Baptist, and I know it's December, and I know, like, the football team has this massive bowl game against Liberty University coming up. But, yeah, it's just Oregon basketball has been a pretty darn good product for the last 10 years, but they've done a really, really bad job of showcasing it.
Maybe a parking lot. I don't know. Maybe just thinking about that.
Yeah.
To 10,000 plus people in a place, maybe a place for at least, I don't know, some of them to park somewhere in and around that place. I don't know. Maybe start there. Hey, Jordan went for 38, 7, and 5 in his famous flu game back in 1997. Alger, easily 40 points in this performance today. Tyson, hey, in all seriousness, thanks for coming on the show. No, you're not feeling the best, but you came through like a champion, and we always appreciate it. Get well, feel better, and we'll talk to you next week. There it is.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
With the emphasis at the end, the spike at the end. Love it. All right, Tyson Alger on X, at Tyson Alger, I-5 Corridor. Subscribe to it. I tell you guys all the time. We have got to get to the mailbag next. 620 Rip City Radio. I could get one on top of your car. I get one on there super easy.
So that's one. Okay. I love my car too much to put tree sap on it.
You give me a whole bunch of twine and
Justin
20 minutes, I get on your car.
Justin probably could do it, but that's one reason. Two is that, like as a kid, I just remember getting a tree was like an all-day activity, and I didn't like that. That seemed like wasting a Sunday. Where it's like shout out Dad.
There is trauma.
Like shout out Dad. He did want to get the biggest and best deal for his tree. Justin, we would drive all the way up to a tree farm outside of Vader, Washington.
Oh my goodness.
Dad would load up the car.
All right, this is all like becoming more and more clear now.
Yes.
Now I am seeing
Dad would load up the car
what this is all about.
and make us drive to Vader, Washington to go get a tree from one of his buddies who had a tree farm up there.
Of
so
course,
it made
he's
sense.
gotta get
I get
a good
that.
deal.
But I just remember as I got older, I'm like, it's
How far of a drive?
like an hour and some change. And each way.
So an hour there, and then like you got an end the search.
Yeah.
Right? And then maybe a disagreement. Maybe because tempers are a little short because we were in the car, and it's like, can we stop and get McDonald's? I said no. And then like, I want this tree. No,
He's
that tree's
hitting it, folks.
not gonna fit. And then finally you get the one. It's like, can we at least get hot chocolate? It's like there's no lids, so be careful. Somebody spills a hot chocolate in the car. And then we got to stop. And I told you to use two hands. And
There was one time.
Am I?
Oh, you're perfectly on. And then there was one time, I think it was the most recent and last time we did it. Grandma and Papa wanted a tree too, so they came in the car
Yeah,
too.
you had two trees, and now it's.
Yeah. So all that to say.
All right, I get it. I get it now. I still don't approve of the fake Christmas tree, but I get it.
But yeah, so as I got older, I'm like, man, Mom, it's really nice to pop this out of the box. Takes about 5 minutes. So
Nobody has yelled.
Different strokes for different folks.
There's
I'm
been
not
no
hating.
tears. Nobody's been brought to tears.
But Justin, like you've learned,
how comes Brendan got a candy cane, but I didn't get a candy cane, and you said you didn't want one, remember? And
like I've told you before, my eating habits, like what I like to have at Thanksgiving and Christmas, are because of what was placed for me as a kid. Mm-hmm. Same thing as a tree. I like to do things my own way as an adult.
It's funny because I